time is the time allotted for a ship to load or discharge its cargo. Is paid by the ship owner to the charterer under a voyage charter when a ship is loaded or discharged in less time than allowed in the charter party. The marriage is quite opposite of dispatch, so the marriage is payable to the ship owner. So if the charter requires the use of the vessel for more time than the time allowed, the charterer will pay the marriage to the ship owner. Notice of readiness. This document has to be tendered and accepted before laytime can begin. Checks. This means that laytime should not be counted on Sundays and holidays. While shrink, Sundays and holidays are included in laytime. A weather working day refers to 24 consecutive working hours without any interruption. These factors may delay the commencement of laytime. Bad weather, equipment failure, weekends and holidays and strikes may interrupt laytime. Now that we know the factors that we need to consider before calculating laytime, let's attempt this question together. Pause this video to write or screenshot the facts of this question. Step 1. Calculate the laytime allowed. The formula for laytime allowed is the amount of cargo to be loaded or discharged divided by the loading or discharge rate. Now, get your calculators, people, because we're going to get right into it. The question states that 4,500 tons of cargo is supposed to be loaded at the rate of 625. By dividing that, the answer would be 7.2 days. And we cannot have 0.2 days, so we have to convert to hours and minutes. So the 7 is recognized as the days. So we have to take the 0.2 and convert it to hours. So we're going to have 0.2 multiplied by 24 because there's 24 hours in a day. The answer will be 4.8 hours. As you know, again, we cannot have 0.8 hours. So we have to convert to minutes. So the 4 is recognized as the hours, and we're going to take the 0.8 and multiply it by 60. 0.8 multiplied by 60 equals 48 minutes. The laytime allowed is 7 days, 4 hours, and 48 minutes. Step 2, the statement of facts. So this is where we record laytime. So we have the day, the date, the details. It can either be details or remarks, and we have late time. Don't be alarmed if this is not the statement of fact sheet that you're used to. There's another one, and I'll be doing a video on that one as well. All the information here is what was given in the instructions. So everything that's in the instruction, that's what we apply here. So let's begin. On Friday, November 3rd, the vessel arrived 800 hours. Also on Friday, November 3rd, the vessel berthed 1000 hours. But we cannot start to calculate late time as yet because late time cannot be calculated unless the NOR is tendered and accepted. Now, let's move on to Saturday. So on Saturday, the NOR was tendered and accepted 800 hours. But we cannot start calculating late time at 800 hours because the question specifically said that time for loading shall begin to count 3 hours after submission and acceptance of the NOR and 3 hours after 8 o'clock is 1100 hours. So you see why we started to load at 1100 hours now, right? Not only because it's in the question, because sometimes it's not there. So you have to pay attention to what the question says. So even if it's not there, you guys can do the right thing. The question also stated that Sundays and holidays are excluded. So that means that Sundays and holidays should not be counted in late time. The question went on to say that time shall not count between 1800 hours on Saturday and 800 hours on Monday before and after a legal holiday. So basically what it is saying is the day before checks, you're supposed to stop working at 1800 hours, right? And the day after checks, you're supposed to start working at 800 hours. Now, we're still at Saturday, November 4. So we're supposed to stop working at 1800 hours because checks is the next day, right? So that simply means that in that day, in Saturday, there's 1800 work hours. So if we started to work at 1100 hours, that means for 11 hours out of that day, we did not do anything. So it's only fair that we subtract that 1100 hours from the 1800 hours to get our late time. And in this case, the late time is 700 hours. On Sunday, November 5th, that checks. So we do not count late time because Sundays and holidays are excluded from late time. Before I continue, right, persons may be asking, why did I continue to work on the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th, even though it was not mentioned in the question? But my answer to you is late time continues. The reason why it's not there is because there was no interruption on that day, but late time continues until it says completed loading and trim. Usually, if the question did not state that there was any interruption on the days that were not mentioned, we treat that day as a weather working day. which consists of 24 hours. So, in the case of Monday, November 6th, it's the day after a Sunday, so we have to start working at 800 hours, which means for 8 hours out of that 24-hour day, you did not do anything. So, you're going to subtract the 800 hours from 2400 hours, and you will get 1600 hours for the amount of time you work, which is the late time. Now, let's move on to Tuesday, November 7th. So, the question did not state that there was any interruptions for November 7th. So, it is considered to be a weather working day. And a weather working day consists of 24 consecutive hours. So that means the vessel was loading for 24 hours straight. So the late time would be 2400 hours. On Wednesday, November 8th, the only interruption that happened for that day was that rain delayed operations for 2 hours and 30 minutes. There is 24 consecutive working hours in that day, and rain only fall for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So what you're going to do is to subtract that 2 hours and 30 minutes that rain delayed operations for from 24, and you will get 21 3000 hours. Thursday, November 9 was not mentioned in the details of operation in the question, right? But we usually treat that as a weather working day. But here's the thing. Thursday, November 9 is the day before an holiday. So we stop working at 1800 hours. So we only work for 1800 hours on that day. On Friday, November 10 is checks because the question stated that November 10 and 12 are public holidays. Let's move on to Saturday, November 11. So it's the day after an holiday and it's the day before a Sunday and a holiday, right? So after an holiday, we're supposed to start at 800 hours, and before an holiday or a Sunday, we're supposed to stop at 1800 hours. So what this means for Saturday is that there's 1800 work hours in that day, and because we started at 8, meaning that late time should not be counted before 8 o'clock. So for 8 hours out of that day, late time was not counted. So what we need to do now is let's do this step by step, because there's another interruption on Saturday. So you're going to subtract 1800 hours from 800 hours, and you're supposed to get 1000 hours. After you get the 1000 hours, we are going to acknowledge the fact that equipment broke down for 1 hour and 30 minutes. 1 hour, and 30 minutes. So you're going to subtract the 1 hour and 30 minutes from the 10 hours that remained, and you will get 0830 hours for your late time. Although we already know that Sunday, November 12 is checks because it's a Sunday, the question also stated that November 12 is a public holiday. So this means it's still checks, and we're not supposed to pay it any mind that rain fell, because late time would not have been counted on that day anyway for it to interrupt or late time. On Monday, November 13, It's the day after a holiday, a Sunday, a shakes, and therefore we start at 800 hours, 0800 hours, right? So the question also stated that the vessel completed loading and trimming 1300 hours on Monday, November 13. The vessel completed loading and trimming at 1300 hours. So this means the vessel finished load and trimmed for stability, safety, and all that, and ready to set sail, right? So the work time, the working hours for that day is 1300 hours. So it's the day after an holiday and we started at 8. So we're gonna subtract the 13 on the we're gonna subtract the 800 hours from the 1300 hours, and that's the amount of time we used for Laytime for Monday, November 13.
Step 3.
In order to calculate the time used, we're going to use the Laytime column. So all the numbers, all the times that are in the Laytime column, this is what we're adding up now. So when we add up everything, right, we got 0 minutes and 100 hours, but we cannot have 100 hours, so we had to convert the 100 hours to days. Okay, by doing that, we divided 100 by 24 because there's 24 hours in one day. After dividing 100 by the 24, we got 4.17, and you know we cannot have 0.17 days, so the 4 represent the days and the 0.17 represent the hours, but we cannot have 0.17 hours, so we have to multiply the 0.17 by 24 to get the remaining amount of hours. So the time used is 4 days, 4 hours, and 0 minutes. Step 4. It's time to calculate dispatch or demurrage. Well, in this case, I've underlined dispatch because we have used less time than the time allowed, right? So let's start. 4A. So we have to find out how much less than the time allowed was used. So we have to subtract the time taken from the time allowed, and that's how we got 3 days, 0 hours, and 48 minutes. Yes, I'm saying 0 hours because in case you need to calculate the hours, you will know what to do because this question don't have any hours. So let's continue. So the dispatch will be calculated for 3 days, 0 hours, and 48 minutes. So there are more than one ways to doing this, and I'm going to be doing the other way in another video with the other statement of facts. So for this, for B, we have to find out how much money is payable to the charterer, right? So here are 3 factors we need to get this out of the way before we actually calculate the dispatch. So the dispatch rate is $600 per day, and we're calculating for the time 3 days, 0 hours, and 48 minutes. So we already know that it's per day, the 3 days. So what we do is to multiply the 3 days by 600, and that's how we got $1,800. Because we only have 48 minutes, we cannot find an hour into 40 minutes to convert to hours. So it's easier for us to just convert to minutes. So we have to convert our hours to minutes. So in this case, remember that I'm just doing it because I'm just doing it so you guys know what to do when you get a question that has hours. So it is 0 multiplied by 60 to convert, right? So it is the hours multiplied by 60 to convert. After you have done that, then you add the minutes and the total amount of minutes. That's what you'd use in the next section of the answer. For number 3, so we have to find out the amount of minutes in one day. So we do so by saying 24 hours in a day multiplied by 60 minutes in 1 hour, right? So 24 by 60, that's 1440. The reason for doing this is because we have converted our hours to minutes. So we have to work out our answer in minutes. So 24 multiplied by 60 is 1440 minutes. Okay, so in order to calculate dispatch, this is the final step, right? We need what we just worked out in B1, 2, and 3 and the dispatch rate to calculate dispatch. So we use B2, which is the 48 minutes, and the dispatch rate, which is $600, and the amount of minutes in one day, which is 1440 minutes. And we got $20. Now we will use what we have calculated in B1, which is the dispatch rate by the amount of days, which is 3 times 600, and we got the $1,800. That's what we'll add the $20 to. So the 1,800 plus 20 equals 1,820, and that's payable to the charterer. And the question is finished.